The past 2 weeks, Nigeria's political landscape has witnessed yet another wave of defections, with several prominent politicians, including 7 governors, lawmakers and party chieftains, crossing over to the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC. From the People's Democratic Party and other opposition parties to the ruling APC, these defections are reshaping the political equation ahead of the next general elections. Now, among the latest to switch allegiance are governors and top figures who were once vocal critics of the ruling party, raising questions about ideology, loyalty, and the strength of the opposition in Nigeria. Now, observers say this growing trend could weaken the country's multi-party system, while others argue it's part of Nigeria's long-standing political culture where personal interest often trumps party ideology. So what does this wave of defections really mean for Nigeria's democracy? Is the opposition losing its voice, or is it simply evolving ahead of the 2027 election? Now, joining us in the studio to help us unpack these issues is Dr. Suleiman Hashim, a political analyst. And we have via Zoom Armfree Ajanaku, Executive Director of the Grassroots Center for Rights and Civic Orientation. Gentlemen, thank you for being here and welcome to Daybreak.
It's always good to be here.
Absolutely. All right. Dr. Hashim, I'll start with you. And it's going to be a straightforward question. We've seen these waves of defection and it's en masse. That is a lot of politicians jumping from one political party to the other. But the major party that has been jumped into is the All Progressive Congress. At this point, do you think that political ideology is dead in Nigeria, or was it even ever alive to begin with?
Okay, yeah, so indeed it was alive at some point, but you know, over time, so many things have dwindled in Nigeria, especially as relates to the human beings, you know, to the human resource. And, you know, there's this subsisting narrative that has sort of come to take over the polity, to the effect that we insist, and including the media itself is complicit, we insist on outsourcing the issues. Do you understand what I mean? In the sense that majority of the citizens believe that it is just the government who should do it. And without necessarily now even doubling down to understand the definition of government. Now, before you even go into the definition of government, you have to understand what democracy means. What's the definition of democracy? The government of the people, for the people, by the people. What's constant in this all is the people. So again, you have to reiterate, we have to begin to apportion these blames appropriately for us to even appreciate what it is that is happening in our society. The fact is that the civil space has been lost, and at the moment, people are left with no option than to perhaps do what it is that the people like. And for me, I have already termed it as homegrown democracy. I have insisted that democracies all around the world are not the same. All of them will align to the peculiarities of their society. And so what's happening is that people are simply aligning with the peculiarities of democracy, how the people want it. In the sense that now, imagine, for example, that me here, I'm just a public hustler in Abuja. And from where I come from, majority of the people who know me, who have affiliations with me, have deliberately developed some sort of an entitlement and insisting that I have to get money from somewhere to give them. Where is the money going to come from? So perhaps maybe that's the reason why people are seeing reason to simply defect to the ruling party. Perhaps they could have enough to satisfy the crave of the people, and then life moves on. So the only person who has a responsibility to save this situation is the people, or who probably want to have concern about the situation and probably choose to do, because you can't even necessarily say whether it's right or wrong. They are the ones who will determine whether it's right or wrong, and they will be the ones to do what is needful. So you just mentioned, for example, that the governor of Enugu State has decamped to the APC. Did you see anybody in Enugu protesting that they do not agree with it? Do you see any PDP member protesting that they do not agree with it? that means apparently
so
it's accepted.
ultimately,
And
you're
so,
saying that there is no political ideology anymore. It is
yeah,
just
so an
about
ideology, an ideology cannot exist in a vacuum. It cannot exist on its own, right? So if I have an ideology, it is because a certain group of people have come together and we have agreed that this is what we want to do. So can I be a lone ship in sustaining that ideology if it ever exists? That is the point that is missing right here. So where are the co-travelers? Where are the people? And that's why I'm asking you if you saw any sort of protest to the fact that Governor Mba has decamped from PDP to the APC. So apparently, it means that it is the ideology, it is the acceptable ideology that is subsisting in the society that he's simply aligned with, and it's acceptable. And we have even moved on to another governor resigning from the PDP yesterday, Governor Duedi of Bayelsa, and that's what is realistic. So the point is, why are we leaving the people out in this entire conversation? This is the point. Because we're making it look like they are just seated somewhere and they're expecting some others to do it. I don't know who those others are. I don't know why the demarcation. I don't know why the separation. And this whole narrative is being insisted upon, is being doubled down upon, that it has to be the reality when it's actually not.
All right. Let us go to Mr. Ajanaku. Mr. Ajanaku, are you with us? All right. All right, Mr. Ajanaku, we've seen the wave of defections that's been going on. So at this point, do you think that is there a moral justification for defecting to the party, especially once you've claimed was destroying the country? A lot of them have made proclamations when it came to the ruling party, and most of them are now shifting to that party that, they've made claims is destroying the country. So what is your take on that?
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. I think, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh dear, it's like the network is really. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll just quickly weigh in on this whole conversation about the wave of defections we're seeing in the polity. And I want to look at it from 2 points of view. Number one, the whole concept of democratic development and the role of the opposition. And also from the point of view of the political realities that are driving these defections in the polity. From the point of view of democratic development, we cannot run away from the fact that we need a viral opposition if we truly want to practice a democratic system. An opposition that can hold the government in power accountable, hold the feet of those in power to the fire, and ensure that there is a constructive alternative in terms of the programs and the policies of the sitting government. So if we have a situation in which everybody just runs away or runs out of the camp of the opposition and moves to the camp of the ruling party, and then we would be talking about a one-party state, which is more or less a dictatorship. And this is the concern of many people. I know that many of the people who are defecting are doing so because of electoral calculations. Many of the governors you have seen that have switched camp from the PDP to the ruling All Progressives Congress are basically doing that because they feel that there's a lot of challenges within the PDP as it stands today. And the only way they can survive politically is to move to the APC. But that brings to question the viability and the fact that our political parties are weak, and as institutions, they do not have the adequate conflict resolution mechanism to ensure that internal party discipline is maintained. And this would definitely not augur well for our democracy, because the moment we begin to move to a one-party state, it then means that you only have a unilinear approach to governance, and there are no alternative voices to fill the void in terms of providing the constructive alternatives that the Nigerian people would need. So on the one hand, it's a very pathetic development. On the other hand, you may want to look at it from the point of view of the survival, the political survival of those who say they have to join the ruling party. But on the whole, this is not a good development for our democratic process.
All right. Moving to you, Dr. Hashim, you said everything, or the people are in the center of everything. But then what long-term damage do serial defections do to political institutions as well as voter trust?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, the fact is that, right, there's nobody who will sit and endorse a one-party state. Definitely, if you don't have an opposition in a democracy, the effect is dire. It's very, very dangerous for the development of the society itself, because, I mean, even you as a human being, you need some sort of pressure sometimes to be able to get things done. But then, again, I'm still coming back to insist that unless we understand that the democracy is about the people are the central thing in it. So for a politician, in most cases, politicians simply want to win elections. And that's what it is. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, because that's what politics is all about. So a politician will make his calculations. But in a situation where you have very, very, very strong people-willed participatory democracy, you're definitely going to have less of this sort of defections easily. In fact, people are even going to be wary to defect. Why? Because they are aware that there's going to be consequences from the people when they do so. So that's why I insisted to you that the reason why there appears to be ease for them to defect is because by their own personal analysis, they've even seen perhaps that the people are also leaned towards that sort of thing. And that's why I told you about how there's a lot of, how will I say, like handout seeking and putting a lot of pressure on people simply for holding position, or sometimes even for just pure perceptions for you to, and that's why, for example, over time there has been this argument about how lawmakers come to the House or the Senate, and then their constituents are always seeking for them to come and build bridges and do roads. And when that is not their that is the responsibility of the executive, but they're forced to have to come, hustle and struggle for constituency projects simply because they need to go and do that which the people have appeared to want. So the issue here is this. Indeed, if you have these defections, you're having a one-party state, institutions are going to become weak, there's going to be less. But then again, who do you necessarily blame for it? I cannot blame, for example, the president, who is a politician, who would want to win his elections, because the only reason why I want to go into a contest, into any political game or any context whatsoever in life, is because I want to become victorious. And so if there are tendencies that are not my fault, that appear like they're going to help my cause, I'm certainly going to embrace. I'm not going to have a problem with it. But then again, if it also doesn't happen, then it behoves on me to recalibrate my strategies, to recalibrate my calculations and see how I want to win the elections. So I don't think that the politicians necessarily have a dog in this fight, but I think that the civil space, the people who are the most important and the most cardinal resources in a democracy, have lost it. Go back in days, even in this particular...
But then, Dr. Hashim, not to cut you short, a person has to feel important to act in their capacity at the end of the day. Don't you think that the politicians have made the people feel unimportant when it comes to it up until elections day? Okay,
great. So now let me give you an example. Did the people of Nepal or the people of Madagascar in recent times, did anybody have to make them feel important before they understood that the power belongs to them? The power belongs to the people, so you don't have to feel important. It is you own it. who needs now to come and revalidate or to remind you that you own it? This is the thing. That's why I'm saying that the narrative has to be set right. Because when you continue to say, if I want to go by that...
Is it the narrative or the mindset?
No, the narrative already is the narrative that has gotten into the head of the masses to feel that they must outsource their responsibilities. They have outsourced all of their responsibilities to these leaders, a responsibility that is not theirs. And they, because they're politicians, they're not going to tell you, no, thanks, don't outsource your responsibilities to me. After all, I'm sure that you outsourcing your responsibilities to me gives me an added advantage to be able to win my elections. So nobody is going to make anybody feel important, and that's why the definition of the democracy is clear: government of the people, for the people, by the people. They must understand that that power belongs to them. So the electoral power is the most powerful power in a democracy, right? But when you have outsourced it to mean that the leader will have to be the one to come and tell you a group of people who to vote for, and then you go, you have certainly outsourced it. Now, there's going to be consequences for that. Why should then there be a wrong scapegoat for the consequences of your own personal responsibilities? So, yes, institutions are going to be weakened. Yes, this is going to happen, all that. But then we must place the responsibilities appropriately so that people will understand what to do. If anybody is comfortable, I mean, you will find voices of reason talking in media houses here and there, but is that really enough about their concern about what is happening and all of that? We can also talk about our concern. My other co-panelist there could talk about his concerns and all of that, but is that necessarily enough in a country of 200 million people? I think that's the question that requires an answer, and I'm sure when we're able to find the answer to this question, things will take shape. People will do what they have to do, organize themselves. People have done it in the past, during the times of the Awolo Wars, and people have done it in the past, organize, stuck to a certain ideology, even with all the pressure from government. Even as far back as 1999, there was a lot of pressure for the current president himself then to come back to the PDP, but he remained adamant. At some point, he was even brought to Abuja to come and attend the Code of Conduct tribunal, something. It never, ever forced him or made him to feel like he wanted to jump ship and join the ruling party. And here he is today. Why then do people want other people, why do people then want to insist on outsourcing their responsibilities? I don't think it will work.
All right, let's go to Mr. Ajanaku at this point. Mr. Ajanaku, we have seen a lot of people, or we've heard a lot of Nigerians say that the mass defection that is going on is sort of an indication of pushing forth towards a one-party state, and an indicator that all the other political parties are weak or weakened internally. So at this point, do you think that Nigeria is heading towards a de facto one-party state? And do you think there are warning signs that they need to be look out for? All right, we're having a little bit of delay with Mr. Ajanaku, but he will be right here with us. All right, so let me put that question to you, Dr. Hashim. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that we're on a trajectory of a one-party state?
Obviously, by the way we are, by our democratic culture at the moment, by the way the citizenry are acting, it appears like we're heading there. But you cannot be very, very certain at the moment right now, because you still can see some little movements here and there. You could still see some people trying to organize. Now, how viable that they're coming together will be, and I'm talking about the ADC specifically here. We understand that that party has come to stay. We see that they're a little maybe cautious. They're quiet about how they're going about their thing. You cannot necessarily be able to confirm how viable that coming together is going to be, because like I said, people need to bring the people together. They need to believe in their vision, and then that's where the ideology comes. Everybody sticks to it and move. So we'll see how that will pan out. But as far as it is right now, we cannot see much of citizen protest about what is happening. I think things seem to be going very normal in the country, and that would depict some sort of an acceptability of what's going on. But we cannot necessarily predict the future in totality, because at some point Nigerians could also surprise you, and that's the truth. As much as we want to tell them that yes, they need to own the space, they need to do what they have to do, we also know that they have sprung all surprises at some point. They could choose to maybe lay back and maybe strike at some point or do what they have to do. That's still okay, it's still within what they can do, but at the moment what it appears is that what's going on seems to be acceptable.
All right. Let us move to Mr. Ajanaku. I would like to hear his take on this particular issue as well. Mr. Ajanaku, with the mass defection, I don't know if you heard my question earlier, with the mass defection, a lot of Nigerians are thinking towards the trajectory of a one-party state. But at this point, a lot are seen indicators that the other political parties are weakened internally, so that is why there's mass defection into, the ruling party. So, do you think that Nigeria is heading towards a de facto one-party state, and are there warning signs at this point that we need to look out for?
Yeah, you see, that whole discussion about a one-party state, for me, is a discussion we need to have as a people, because if you look at the way governance has happened over the last 2 or so years, in 2023 when President Bola Tinubu won the presidency, you can already say that we are in a one-party state.
All right, I believe today we're having quite a lot of technical difficulties, but thankfully we have Dr. Hashim right here. All right, looking at the defections, and at some point, a lot of Nigerians will say most of them don't have a strong reason for moving from one party to the other. Others would say it is, personal interest that drives them. So do you think at this point Nigeria's constitution should find a way to regulate a defection?
Yeah, obviously. So, but I think even as it is right now, the law sort of regulates defection, because it is clear that you cannot be able to switch parties unless there is some sort of a division in your party and something like that. But then now, so let's take for example, and that's why I'm not somebody who does sweeping generalizations. So take, for example, Governor Peter Mba. He had been in this PDP, he had been making his case. The Southeast sat and nominated a certain Ude Okoye who should be their national secretary, right? And we're in this country how majority of the party members, and that's why I still insist that it's about the people. The majority of the party members made rubbish of that and insisted that Anyanwu was going to be their secretary. And that's the beauty of democracy. And the majority way would have its way. And that happened. And so it is only natural that he would feel already left out in the system. And then the law of the land has already envisaged that sort of a situation and has given you a leverage to proceed to defect. And he did. So therefore, would you necessarily blame Peter Mba for doing what he did? So now is how do you... The laws are there, but the laws always are for the people to practice, right? To interpret, to practice how it is that they want to do them. So how much do we enforce even the laws that we have now? Talk more of thinking of trying to modify them, to put strict, because after all, even the Constitution itself again says that there's freedom of association. You know how you have certain laws would even somewhat be contradicting themselves, because if I have freedom of association as a person, and then another law also says that I can only switch when this happens in my party, I think the provisions of the law are sufficient enough to perhaps stop this. But again, if you have a political association or you have a political party, it is the members generally who would agree that, okay, this is how we want to move, this is how we want to do. If you don't abide by all of those rules you've set, definitely there's going to be a problem. People are going to, and that's why I told you that perhaps right now, the only maybe little shining light you have is that you have a certain association that has come up now and they appear to want to be doing something. So there is an alternative. So if the citizens want, they could, but whether the citizens have a resolve enough to be able to play the opposition is what becomes a very big question mark in Nigeria now. How much of a resolve do the people have to withstand what it is that comes with playing opposition? Is it sufficient enough? I don't think so. So we could be talking about this in platforms like this. I think it should be more amplified. I think the civil society need to become more strengthened. They need to wake up to their responsibility, because really, in the last couple of years, the civil society organizations, I mean, we need to read up. People need to understand the place of civil society and media in a democracy.
That's why we have Mr. Ajanaku.
Exactly, yeah. That's what
Absolutely.
I'm saying. So you see, they have critical roles. So perhaps you will even tell us more about how much concerned they are and how much they really want to wake up to their responsibilities.
All right, Mr. Ajanaku, back to you. We have seen mass defections, and it's nothing new in Nigeria, but at this point, Nigerians don't even bat an eye because it has become the norm. So at this point, do you think democracy can truly survive if party loyalty is a function of power, not principle?
Absolutely not. And I think that other question you asked, about the one-party state is a very important question, which I think I need to answer. That if you look at the governing agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the fact that he has been able to get away with virtually everything he has proposed, he has put to the National Assembly, you can already say that we are in a one-party state. There's no mincing words about it. And we must also come to terms with the fact that the reality of today's politics in Nigeria is such that the question of the mandate protection of the people, how do you get a mandate under the PDP and then you are taking that mandate to the APC without accountability? So when Hashim in the studio is saying, well, it's about the constitutional provision for association, I beg to disagree. We must have within our system, we are not saying people should not associate, but people should associate within the confines of defining certain clear parameters. You cannot come and ask for votes under PDP. People gave you the votes under PDP, and then you now switch to APC. For me, there should be and we even have some of that in our with the lawmakers. If a lawmaker were to defect to another party, the seat is eventually declared vacant and a new election is conducted. I think that should also be extended to the executive, to the governors, and to the president. So that if you switch, there's also some accountability mechanism that makes it imperative for you to go back to the people and for the people to decide if that switch is okay by them or it's not okay by them. That is one. Then the second point, which is very fundamental, which you raised, is that the survival of our democracy, the capacity of our democracy to deliver on good governance cannot be divorced from a virile, credible, engaged, and strengthened opposition. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about the role of civil society. Yes, the role of civil society is important, but civil society is not right there at the National Assembly where laws are made. Civil society is not inside the presidency. So the first line of counter presentation and counter resolutions of the issues that come out of the polity is the opposition. And so the idea that civil society will suddenly fill that void of what the political opposition should be doing is clearly a misnomer as far as I'm concerned, because the civil society will not go there to contest elections. They will not go there to really put in place counter ideas to what the ruling party is doing. Yes, we have our role in terms of mobilizing the people at the grassroots, helping them to understand their rights, helping them to understand their responsibilities, but we cannot take over that critical role of the political opposition in terms of matching the ruling party idea for idea, perspective for perspective in a way that happens within the partisan arena. That is a role that if we want to emerge as a democracy, we cannot run away from for the opposition to play. At this point where you have all of these governors defecting, my admonition to the opposition is that they need to start thinking outside the box, and they need to start making this a referendum. Because when Hashim was saying that in Enugu nobody protested, of course nobody may protest right now because there is really no avenue for a protest to happen. The ultimate protest is at the ballot box. The ultimate protest is at the polling unit. And if the people can declare that they did not support that defection, then they will go to the polling unit during the next elections and then vote out those people who have taken their mandate elsewhere. So the role of the opposition is really critical, and we cannot wish it away if we want our democracy to deliver good governance to our people.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Suleiman Hashim, and thank you so much, Mr. Armfree Ajanaku, for shedding so much light on the recent, or I wouldn't say recent, but the mass defection that's going on in our political scene. Thank you very much for being here.
Far to go, thank you.